Hello everyone, welcome to this video. It has been such a long time since I've done one of these. It's got to be the longest year of my life because when I look through this list of books, I just can't fathom that it's like a part of the same year, that these books are on the same timeline. I have been trying to reach my goal. It is now December and I have 3 books until I reach my goal and 2 weeks left in December. So I don't know how that's gonna go, but I am in the middle of reading books. I'm just gonna get right into it. These are the books that I've read so far in 2021. We're starting off so strong. I don't know if anything could match this. The first book that I read this year is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. And let me tell you right now, I have always had this weird fascination with JFK. So I've always had this weird thing with JFK. We had a weird thing going back. Who didn't he have a thing with? So the fact that Stephen King, my everything, wrote a spin on like the story of what happened and, you know, time travel and all that, how could I refuse? I'm not a history buff, so I don't know how close to the truth like a lot of the historical facts are. I'm sure Stephen did his research and he knows what he's doing. I trust him. Anything he says, anything that comes out of his mouth, I trust him. And that's a dangerous game to play. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust any man except for Stephen King. And I don't really rate things 5 stars, but I rated it 5 stars. I cannot believe that this was the same year that I read these books. This was so far back. I guess I read Call Me By Your Name. I literally don't remember that at all, but it's fine. I finished the book the night before all that Army Hammer stuff came out. So I was like, I caused this to happen. Like, this was me. I rated it 3 stars. I was really sad while reading it. It reminded me a lot of like something that I've been through. I think that's why I was like kind of resentful. I was like, 3 stars. I read The Outsider by Stephen King. I honestly was getting It vibes. I was like, this is literally just another variation of like It. But as the story progressed, it was something obviously unique to Stephen's universes. I was introduced to Holly Gibney. I think that's how I pronounce it. That's how I say it in my head. She comes back around later this year. Stay tuned for that. So I rated it 4 stars because it was a really good story and the way it was told was great. This one, don't really remember all that much. Salem's Lot. It reminded me a lot of Needful Things, and I don't know if there's a reason for that. I remember when he was describing the vampires and like the basement and everything. That was pretty creepy. I do remember that. I think it's because my view of vampires has been tarnished by different media and literature, if you will. So it was just hard for me to get into it. I mean, but it's still good. Like the little boy hovering outside his window, like that was kind of creepy. I rated 3 stars. Don't remember why. I think it just wasn't all that to me. I cannot believe I read this. Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. This feels like a lifetime ago. I think that this was a really unique story. I was very confused a lot of the time. It was like supposed to be like these kind of like Dementors, I guess you can say. Dementas. It was an epic adventure and the ending was really sad. Sad endings and sad books really like suit my fancy. This is a series, so I couldn't wait to read the second one. This next book is actually nonfiction. What? So I was having a rough time, as one does. I've been having a rough time for a long time, but you know what? I had to face some of my problems head on this year. So I read a book called Attached, The New Science of Adult Attachment and How It Can Help You Find and Keep Love. It was really insightful to see the point of views of the other attachment styles as well as learning, okay, so this is my attachment style and this is the way that I view relationships and love. And I identified a lot of characteristics with certain people that I had been with. And it just helped me understand my point of view as well as other people's point of view better. So if that's like a topic that you're into or like you're trying to figure your love life out and things like that, I definitely recommend this. It might help you understand yourself better in order to improve future relationships. And there's also little interactive parts of the book and you'll see like if you lean more towards anxious or like avoidant attachment, and it's really interesting and you learn a lot about yourself. I rated that 5 stars. Okay. I read this woman's memoir last year. Aspen Matus, I think. Your Blue Is Not My Blue, a Missing Person memoir. Let's just start by saying I rated this 2 stars. The way that she told her story was just so like, I understand because I write things too, and it was mostly about like being sad and like upset about things, but the way she was like so self-pitying and like so reliant on her husband for affection and like taking care of her. Like he literally put in her contacts, like not to judge like her life because this is real, but He literally put in her contact lenses for her because she couldn't do it herself. Listen, I never thought that I would wear contacts ever in my life. I'm wearing them now, babe. So if I could do it, anyone could do it, honey. And I think she eventually did it because she really didn't have a choice, because missing person, he wasn't, I guess he was missing from her, and she was like confused and like, where is he? But he literally ran away from her. Like, I'm sorry. He literally ran away from her to like be in the woods. I don't blame him though, because she was so reliant on him, and he was probably so drained. Like, I have to put in this bitch's contacts every day. Like, but I gotta take care of my own self. But I can see like her point of view, because some of the things he did was like avoidant, I suppose, but like at the same time that actually connects back to the last book I read. Wow. I feel like she had more of an anxious attachment style and he had an avoidant, and it just didn't work. The thing that I find the most odd is the fact that she still uses his last name as her like publishing name, but I'm pretty sure the marriage didn't work out. Girl, it's not too late to change it. And all of this happened before she even published her first memoir, so it's like she still used the last name knowing, like, after all this stuff happened that she describes in this book. I don't know, I just didn't like the way that she went about explaining things. She put like a lot of unnecessary detail into things. Like, she described more detail about what was going on around her than like the actual story. You can put description in, but it's like a lot. Yeah, sorry, 2 stars. The next is Odd Thomas number 2, called Forever Odd. I'm always confused at the beginning of these books. I'm like, where are we going? Like, it's so confusing, but it was really interesting. How he had to go to the casino and there were like ghosts in there. It was pretty cool. And I felt on the edge of my seat. You better run, bitch. Like, they're gonna find you in there. Okay, why is this person like stopping outside of my house? Maybe she was picking a playlist to like run because she just scurried away, or maybe she planted a bomb or something. Oh, her little baby. Oh, he's so cute. Speaking of children, this book sucked. Like, I'm sorry. It's called Baby Teeth by Zoe Stage, I believe. It had so much promise, and I really feel like it just kept going and going, and it was building up to something that like didn't happen. Like, it could have been so much better than it was. The daughter is like, we don't know if she's like evil or if she's just acting out, or if she just hates the mom for some reason and like loves the dad and like puts on an act. Whenever the dad's around, she's a sweet angel baby, and then when the mom is around, she like makes her life a living hell. And it's like, is my child like the devil? Like, I think we need more than one side of the story, because what did you do to make this girl hate you so much? Like maybe you're not the victim here. So I gave it 2 stars. The ending was so unsatisfying. It was all right for like suspense, but like when you have suspense, you're supposed to like give me something to work with at the end. But I feel like it was like setting up for a sequel. I don't know if there is a sequel. This shit got a lot of bad reviews, so I'm not the only one. Next book, Educated by Tara Westover. It's like this poor girl, her father worked her so hard and her brother so hard, and her mother had an injury, like a brain injury, and it affected her for the rest of her life. But they're like, oh, and we don't believe in doctors, so we're not gonna go like to the hospital or anything. She's just gonna lay there and like it's gonna work itself out. It's really scary. There are probably so many children going through similar things in the name of like religion, and he really believed that the end was coming in 2000, and he literally had like a shelter for like the apocalypse or like the end of the world or whatever. But she defied the odds, and it really was amazing to hear that she went to England and like went to college and she was doing her thing. Like, she really was doing her thing, and it really inspired me to pursue academia, maybe like further my studies someday. So I gave this 4 stars. Then I read a classic. I think I was waiting for a book to come in the mail. This always happens to me. I'm always waiting for a book to come in the mail. I'm like, all right, let's hit the Stephen King collection in the basement. So I read Cujo. Every scene or like every movie with like a dog, it's like, hold Cujo back, go feed Cujo, or like this. It's always a reference to like Cujo, like a dog in anything. So it's like iconic. 4 stars. The next book I read is Yearbook by Seth Rogen. I got this as a birthday present. I never knew like I wanted to know more about his life. Like, it was really interesting to hear about how he got into comedy, and you know, the way that obviously the way it was told was comical. So it was just like the perfect person to write a memoir. I rated it 5 stars. This book was messed up. The Last Victim by Jason Moss. Jason Moss is no longer with us, unfortunately. He took his own life in his 30s, I believe. But this was when he was in college, and he basically wrote letters to serial killers, and it was so disturbing. It was incredible, though. Like, he really took one for the team to get the insight. He visited John Wayne Gacy in prison, and John Wayne Gacy abused him. Like, I can't believe this kid did this. He lived to tell the tale, but he unfortunately didn't live to like triumph it. It really haunted him for the rest of his life. I recommend if you're into true crime, and even if you're just like have morbid curiosity and you're like, what do these like serial killers say to this kid? Like, what happened? 4 stars. I keep reading memoirs up the wazoo this year. So the next one that I read is This Bright Future, a memoir by Bobby Hall, aka Logic. I made a very emotional video about this a few months ago. I was in my feelings that day. It was a really bad day for me. I said all I needed to say about this book in that video, so go check that out. I will link it below. 4 stars. I'm angry. This next book got me fuming. First of all, I found this at a thrift store in Boston. I saw this book from a mile away, Dean Koontz. I was like, hey, I read a couple Dean Koontz in my day. Let me check it out. 3 novels in one. The Servants of Twilight, Darkfall, and Phantoms. Big ass book. 3 whole novels in it. Okay, I love this. I started it on my way home, like on the train from Boston. I started the book and I was going. And then all of a sudden, I just was like checked out. But I'm like, I have to finish this book because I can't not finish a book. That's just a thing for me. And months were going by. Like literally, like, let's see how long it took me to read this. October 2nd, I got this book and I finished it November 19th. That is so unlike me. Granted, there were 3 whole novels in it, but like they just dragged on and on and on. The endings, I couldn't stand them. Every aspect of like the stories were similar. There was like an ominous force, and there was a man and a woman who met and fell in love and made a lot of love, and then in the end, it was like hunky-dory. And I'm like, what? The 3rd story, I will say, was the most unique, but like the way that it started out, it could have picked up like much sooner than it did. I just think the execution of it wasn't the best. That story actually had elements that I'm like trying to write into a story that I'm writing, and I was like, wait a minute, am I like unoriginal? Well, yes. But I'm like, will I still be able to write my story? And I'm like, you know what? Yes, because no offense, Dean Koontz, but I think I could do a better job at like incorporating this entity that you tried to incorporate in this story. I do apologize, but I also do not apologize because I'm sorry, it fell flat. It really fell flat. And all the time that I spent reading this book, I could have been catching up on my goal because I did not reach my goal yet. And I feel like this book held me back. So thanks for holding me back. What did I give this? 3 stars. It was all right. It was, but not amazing, and it wasted a lot of my time. Next book was actually very good and interesting. It was very different from what I usually read. It was kind of like science-y. And a lot of the terms I didn't understand because like I'm not a science person. Women in STEM, you can just forget about it around here. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I was encapsulated the entire time like, what is happening? This is insane. And my mind was just kind of blown through a lot of it. When it came to the peak of the story and it was like, you kind of figured out what was going on. It was crazy. It was so cool. It's like interdimensional. He made it happen, but he didn't at the same time. Leaving it vague in case anyone wants to read it, if anyone watches this video. I gave it 4 stars. The last book that I read so far is If It Bleeds by Stephen King. I've been wanting to read this since it came out. It's Holly Gibney, number 2, and I really enjoyed this. It was the 2nd or 3rd story about that guy. I wasn't a big fan of that story, to be honest with you. It was literally just a story about a guy. And also, the beginning of that story was weird because it was like the end of the world, and then this guy's like image was all over the place. Like, what was up with that? Like, Steven, I really need to talk to you because what was that all about? That had nothing to do with the rest of the story of you like telling his life story. Like, unless it didn't, I just missed something. I don't know. The first story about the dead guy's phone, that was really good. Then, obviously, If It Bleeds, the title story. And I loved following Holly again and seeing her grow stronger as a person and, you know, working on herself and becoming more confident and, you know, being a strong woman. The last story called Rat, it was funny in a weird way, but also it was a fun little read. You know, it wasn't like too intense. I found it amusing because I like rats. I just think they're so cute. I just thought it was so funny how he's like, this rat's talking to me. I'm going a little crazy up here, having fever. And then at like towards the end, he kept hearing like people say like, instead of being like, you know that, right? He would be like hearing it like, you know that rat. Rat? What did you just say? You know that, right? Oh. He was like haunted by a rat. It was funny. So I gave it 4 stars. Those are the books that I have read so far. I'm currently reading the book Rebecca, and I don't know how to pronounce the author's name. She's French. Français. Française, sorry, it's feminine. On writing a memoir of the craft by, of course, our king, Stephen. Because if I'm going to be taking writing advice from anybody, it's obviously going to be Stephen King. Like, hello. And I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm learning a lot because I write. I've been writing for a very long time. I went to high school for it, an arts high school where I wrote all 4 years, and I lost my passion for it. I was going to major in it. Things just went haywire, but I'm back, baby. I'm back in business. So I do have writing available, and I can link it below. I'm also trying to work on like a full-length story, which I haven't done in years. So let's see. Let's hope that Stephen helps me through it. I also have like a bunch of other books that I just bought. So stay tuned for those. I'm probably gonna not make it to the end of my goal. I'm hoping so. Let me know if any of these books intrigued you. I really hope that I explained them well enough. The selection this year was pretty good that I made personally. Good job, me. I just want to thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. I have links in the description, so make sure to check those out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more zany videos because I have a lot of like content I've been trying out, and this is just one of the things I keep coming back to because I love to read, and I'm so glad that I got back into reading recently, and it's really fun to talk about books. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.